Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Okay, for today's episode, I sit down and talk with a super cool chick. Her name is Jo Figueras, and she's amazing. Jo is a spiritual medium, an Akashic record consultant, a conscientiousness growth guide, and the co-host of the Esoterix podcast. She also designs mixed metal and crystal gemstone jewelry. I have a few of these pieces, and let me just tell you, this stuff is really cool. And this is no made in China shit. Okay, she forges these with her own little creative hands. During a tetralogy, Akashic, or soul contract reading, Jo will open your Akashic record and explore the goals of your soul and your higher self by outlining your purpose, your path, skills, karmic lessons, important soul contracts, past lives, and she's going to connect you to your spirit advisors. A reading with Jo provides direction and clarity through times of uncertainty, transitions, and stuckness. And isn't that what we all are kind of needing right now? I have listened to her podcast throughout my spiritual journey, and I've had multiple readings with her. So when I tell you she's legit, I know what I'm talking about. Jo and I dive deeper into past lives and what the heck we're doing in between our lives. Jo explains the Akashic records and so much more. And you got to listen to find out how talking about serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer led me to share how I have reframed my own traumas to heal, and how her grandma Dolores helped me from the other side to channel for the first time. We got a lot of good stuff. Let's jump in. Hey, Jo.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting. We've been on a break recording our podcast, so it's kind of nice. I had to get the mic out and I literally had to dust it off. Like there was literal dust on it. So
I know I've been waiting for new episodes from you guys.
Yeah, we're on a break.
I look, to see when they're dropping. When are they dropping? You know what? You guys needed a break.
We needed a break. Yeah. We went really hard, but we have a really cool season 5 planned for everybody. So
Ooh, yeah. When's it coming?
We record our first episode the end of June, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So not too far.
Not too far. No.
Not too far. Okay. I love it. So they know all the things you do. Okay. But I want to talk a little bit, just start out with when, like for your spiritual journey awakening, like was there one big event that made it happen? And I don't mean necessarily the moment you started reading records or all of that, but like, was there a moment or something that happened where you were like, things have to change?
Yeah.
Was there like a moment or like an event?
Yes.
Trauma? Was there something that made you go, my life has to change?
All of the above. I call those catalytic moments. With my clients, I'll say, you tell me about your catalytic moment. And I remember specifically, I'm going to write a book about it one day. I was 44 years old. So it was 11 years ago. And I was sitting on my couch in my living room in Lansing, Michigan, and I was miserable. I was depressed. My boyfriend and I had broken up. I had shit friendships. They were just all, in the crapper. I hated my job. I hated my life. But most importantly, I literally, the clinical term of self-loathing. I hated myself. And
oh no.
Yeah. And I just remember sitting there and one day and I said, I can't believe that this is what my life is. I hate this life. And as clear as a bell, as if I had heard it in my ear right now, I heard, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And it was the first time that my clairaudience popped off. And it was like, it freaked me out, right? Because all of a sudden there's this voice in my ear that's saying, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I remember I took a big inhale, like, and I just, all of a sudden, everything clicked into place. I knew exactly what I had to do. And this is as if I was like on, automatic pilot. I got up from the couch. I went to my office. I sat down and I opened up my notebook and I just started writing. And so I was automatic writing. So that was an early glimpse into my channeling abilities, but it was like spirit took over, jumped in my body and said, sit down. We have to tell you something.
So before that, you had no experiences talking to spirit?
None. I mean, I had dabbled.
Was this voice in your own, when you hear the voice, was it in your own voice or someone else's?
It was an external, it was inside my head, but it was an external voice. But
it wasn't your voice.
It wasn't my voice.
Okay.
Nope, it was not.
Okay.
Yep. And then I channeled, I had like 3 pages of just scribble. And then when I reread it, it was basically like, you're a healer, you're meant to help others. So you got to get your shit together basically. And, it wasn't of course that specific, but it was crazy. To this day, I can't find that channeling. I've looked for it for years. I can't find it. I have no idea what happened to it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then you started on the journey to like change things. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight,
Nope.
but like it happened.
It happened. Yeah.
You don't live in Michigan anymore.
No.
You're on the other side of the country.
Yes. Yes. Part of that journey. I just started doing shadow work and it was fun, but it's not fun, right? But it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. And then I started helping others doing it. So that's how I got started was helping others do shadow work.
Okay. Awesome. Did you grow up with any type of religion?
None. Anti-religion. My mom, it was anti-religion. And I had this weird hatred. And if you listen to the podcast, I have a weird hatred for the Catholic religion and any and all organized religion. It's just, I cannot stomach it.
You weren't even a part of a church. You just feel it.
I just knew it. Yep. From the time I was a little girl. Yep.
Huh. Because did you see people who practice those religions behaving a certain way, or you don't know? It's just like,
nope.
Just a thing. Okay. So you didn't have to get through any blocks about religion or any of that. So when the spirit wanted to come through and talk to you, like you were already pretty open to it.
I was already open to it. My grandma was, she died before I was born, but my grandma was a very intuitive woman. Yeah. So it's not that I didn't have to get through blocks of religion, because remember, I had this hatred of religion.
That's true. Different kind of block. Yeah,
it was a different type of block. It was I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe that that God was good, that sort of thing. I had to work my way into that.
So you had the block. It's just a different block.
It's just a different block. Yeah.
Some people are extremely into a religion.
Yeah.
You were at the other end. You were extremely against organized religion.
Yep.
So either way, you have to unblock.
Either way, I had to. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that darn shadow work.
Right.
Yep.
So much.
We hate that.
To this day.
Yeah. To this day, I still
have shadow work all the time. It's annoying.
I mean, are we ever going to be done?
I don't think so.
Do you think?
I mean, no. I mean, I think there's always going to be things that we can look at and say, why do I do this? What is the root of this? And how can I bring balance to this?
How should we change it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so now where you're at in your spiritual journey, you know all kinds of things. And so we're going to talk a little bit. We're just going to start with your main thing, which is like tapping into those Akashic records.
Yeah.
So there's people listening right now that didn't even know what I just said when I said Akashic records.
Right.
So, and I didn't know for the longest time. I was like, what are these people talking about? So tell us what your take on the Akashic records or Akasha field or whatever.
So, okay, to break it down as simply as possible, the Akashic records are not a library in the sky. They're energy. So think of them like cloud storage for the universe or cloud storage for the soul. Akasha is a Sanskrit term that means energy. So it's just an ancient energy, right? But all, throughout history, it's sort of been designated as only the most worthy and only the most spiritual can access it, which is a load because the Akashic records are stored inside of our soul, which encompasses our physical body. So our Akashic records are energy within. So it's simply like accessing a type of energy in order to initiate or work with your intuitive abilities, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Okay. And so what kind of information can we get out of our Akashic records? Or can you get for us, teach us how to get it? What's it really help us with?
There's pretty much
everything, probably.
Nothing. Yeah. There's pretty much nothing that I haven't been able to access and inquire about when I have someone's Akashic record open. The only thing that I can't access is anything that is not in the highest good of the client, right? So personally, I don't ask about health. That's my personal policy. I'm not interested in getting into health issues. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to put myself in that position. But for the most part,
you don't want someone like, when am I going to die? How am I going to die? Like, no, none of that.
And trust me,
we're not meant to know all that.
People ask that. And I'm like, I don't know. And if I did,
you don't want to know either.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't tell anybody, even if I did.
No. But you can't, like, okay, if you're waiting in line at the grocery store, you can't tap into the lady in front of you. You need permission, right?
Okay. So here's let me clarify that. So all of the gurus out there or whatever will tell you that you can't tap into another person's energy without, permission. That's consent. And that's polite. But if you're an empath, that's not true, because you're able to tap into the energy of other people.
The vibe around you. Yeah.
Yep. Yes. So, when you think about integrity, you shouldn't, but no, I don't have time to open everybody's records, but I can tap into other people's emotions and energies. And I'm a psychic, so I pick up on stuff. So it is what it is. But, opening up somebody's record in the grocery store in front of you is really not something that I would ever try or have interest in trying. You have to pay me.
Well, I just know some people already think, well, if you're psychic, tell me what I'm thinking right now. You know what I mean? Like, the skeptics will be like, well, you should know already, you're a psychic. And it's like, I don't think it works that way, but you're not just walking around mind reading here. Like, that's not what this is. No.
And I will tell you that as an intuitive, we hate being tested by people and will, lie. People test me just for fun.
It's probably offensive. Just like any other career.
Yep.
If I questioned you on what your expertise was, you'd be like, oh my God, like, you know nothing. Stop it.
No, right. It's true.
Yeah.
You're a hairstylist. Prove it. Okay. Well, make an appointment, book an appointment, pay me, and then I'll prove that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can probably tap in like deeper when someone's connected with you.
100%.
More open, like reading me versus reading someone who's never had a reading and really thinks it's all yoo-hoo. Like, right?
100%.
Like, you're not going to get as much info for them anyway.
No.
So the key to going into these sessions is really like, just go into it open.
Yes. Open and willing to receive the information, but also willing to hear what's being said. The biggest block in reading somebody is when they're skeptical or they have not done their shadow work. And so they're not open to the process of it, because people do not like to hear where they have to make changes. I get a lot of people that want to know about love, right? The other day I had a client and she really wanted to know about love. And I'm like, well, that's not what's coming through the records. The records are, you have to heal first in order to be a vibrational match for a healthy love. But she didn't want to hear that. She wanted her partner, and it just wasn't coming through.
She wants you to tell her who she should go find right now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the world we live in. I want it right now.
Yes.
I don't want to do the work.
Yes.
Just give it to me.
No. And I get it, right? I mean, I'm single and I would love to know when I'm going to meet my partner as well. But until I fix the things in me that keep me not or that keep me from being a vibrational match to that person, is fruitless. Or that's a term, right?
Okay, you're in the same boat with a lot of my listeners. We're all midlifers here. Midlife, heading towards that. We don't know. So is it harder? How's dating been at this age? Is it way different?
Yeah, it's been non-existent.
And being spiritually like awakened. Is it just different? You're looking for different things, I bet, because you're really feeling the energies out there.
Yes. Well, first off, I'm in Portland and I am a chubby brown woman, and that is it's either not the norm. And so also men here in Portland are not assertive. Like, I don't get approached, or even there's zero interest in here, but also, or I'm fetishized, right?
Oh, Lord,
yes. So it's difficult, but I will tell you that I came to Portland to heal. I'm living on my Pluto line. There is no romance on a Pluto line unless it has to do with transformation. So I had fully expected that I would come here and meet my future husband, but that's not what is going to happen in Portland. I know that without a shadow of a doubt that I might meet my person in Portland, but it's just not a thing that's going to happen for me until I'm
not a thing. So you have to be ready to change your whole thought train, because you headed to Portland thinking my husband's there.
Yep.
And then Maybe that was just to get you to
It
Portland,
was to get me to
to do the right thing. Spirit knew you needed a little man on the hook and you'd get there.
It's true.
And now,
It's true. It's true.
yeah. So you're like a little free spirit. You could end up anywhere.
Yeah, it's time to move. My lease is up in October and I know that I'm going to be moving. I have no idea where. I've been trying to find an astrocartographer. So if there are any astrocartographers in your listening audience, like a legit professional who does this all day long, every day, I would love to trade services because they're very spendy.
I want one too.
Right?
I've never had that done.
Yes.
I need that person too, everybody.
Yes.
Let's share this until we find him.
Yes.
Or him or her. Yeah.
Spread the word.
Okay. Because they do what? They kind of like can graph it out for you.
Yeah, they'll take your birth chart and overlay it over a map and your lines of intersections, and it'll tell you, where the best places are for you for all of these different things. And there's so much to it. It's complicated. You have to have legitimate professional software to really be able to get into the nitty and gritty of it. It's just a cool, fun thing. But you can get a free astrocartography map from astro.com, but good luck reading it because it's a bunch of lines.
Right. It'll just look like the first time I saw my human design chart, I was like, I have no idea what this all means. I need a professional. Yes. But it's kind of like because you do the tetralogy, which is what? It's a combination. Tell me about that.
The tetralogy reading is just from years of all these modalities that sort of intersected each other. And then, so I was like, well, I'm just going to create one reading that incorporates all of those so that people understand the intersection. So it is, tetralogy is a Greek term and it means four things working together. So I use numerology, astrology, human design, all within the Akashic records in order to interpret your soul blueprint. Numerology is the what. What am I here to do? What is my soul here to do? What are my gifts, my skills, my abilities? What's my purpose? What are my different purposes? Astrology is the why. What took place? What is my karma? What am I meant to heal in my nodes? My Chiron, my Saturn, all of those things. And then human design tells you how you best move through the world, how you best make decisions, how you, best, master your life. So when you put those three modalities together with insight, messages, and guidance from the Akashic records, it really is an incredible guidebook. It would be like your Jennifer guidebook is what it would be.
You can find out so much from it.
Yes.
Because like in the sessions we've had, like, and everything's spot on.
Yeah.
Like in prep for this, I listened to an old session we had and I was like, oh, all those things line up perfectly now. It's funny when you go back and listen to something that happened, months and months ago and you listen back and you're like, wow, it hits you different the second time you listen to it later.
It sure does.
So it is nice to record those and go back and be like, oh my gosh, like I was thinking that back then and look, now it's manifested. Yeah, it's really cool. So when you go into the Akashic records, you're pulling out what? You're pulling out past lives. You're just talking to the other person's spirit guides, your spirit guides, right? What all are we tapping into in those?
It's pretty much any spirit that wants to come through. It's typically spirit guides or loved ones that have passed over. I am a spiritual medium, which means I can talk to spirit as a whole, but I can also access past lives. I've been able to do that since I was little. So that's always something that I've been interested in. But how I use it in the Akashic records is if somebody's struggling with, a fear of something. And, I'll say to the Akashic records, I ask for clarity and guidance on the source of this fear for this person. And then they'll take me to a past life and they'll show me what it is. And I see that with my clairvoyance visually with my mind's eye. But at the same time, I'm also receiving information clairaudiently through my inner hearing and claircognizantly through my inner knowing. So there's like 3 or 4 of my abilities that are working together to create this beautiful picture for this person. And then I'm telling them, well, this is why, this is what happened, this is how that happened, and this is what you need to do. And it also is really interesting because there are always other people in these past life scenes that are people that they have in their current life. So it's rarely just, well, this is what happened. It's always has to do with a current relationship or a partnership or something. So it's very cool.
Okay, because this all kind of connects to like our soul blueprint
Yes.
contract, right? What we planned on doing when we got here.
Yes.
And then we forget everything we planned and we hope we're on the right path, right? So what you're doing is you're helping us like kind of hone in, like, am I on, especially midlife when we're wondering like, what am I doing next?
Yes.
What's next for me? Like, am I on the right path? Or if I'm not, how far off have I veered? What do I need to do? So you help with all of that by just using all these modalities that you're proficient in.
Yes.
Okay.
So the soul blueprint is the plan that our soul wrote for ourselves. Our soul contracts are the contracts that we made with other souls in order to live out that blueprint.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the contract is who we contracted with. Like my sister and I decided we'd be sisters this time or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Like it's kind of a contract like that. And it doesn't have to be relatives. It could be a friend or someone coming into our lives at some point. Okay. And then the soul blueprint is the plan we had for ourselves.
Yes. The overall plan. Think of it just like a blueprint.
Yeah. Like what we need to learn maybe or experience.
All of it. Our plans, our goals, our lessons, what karmic debt needs to be balanced, what karmic lessons we're going to learn, what we're meant to achieve. That's in our astrology, our north node, and what we need to leave behind, our comfort levels in our south node, our chiron, our deepest wound. All of that is all written in the soul blueprint for the purposes of giving the soul a plan, right?
Yes. So you tap into your own Akashic records? Can we tap into our own?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I don't always get what I want out of it. So that's why I always recommend that
because my thought is like, okay, if we could tap in, or like you can tap into your own, but you can still veer off path.
Yes.
Right? Like you see what you're supposed to be doing, but like just because we have free will, or how is it that we're all people even that can tap into Akashic records will not stay on the right path sometimes?
Which is why I recommend, if you're struggling with anything big or major, that you have another reader read you always, because we often don't know when we're off path. We don't know. Lizzo just posted on the socials. She said she was depressed, but she didn't know she was depressed until she was on the other side of it. Right. So we don't know sometimes. Yeah.
We don't know.
No. So that's when we have people in our lives. And for instance, you and I, we have a soul contract for several things to come together for intuitive insight and guidance, to come together, to help spread the word about this with your podcast. I mean, there's a lot of ways, but I can tap into my own record, and I do for simple things, but not for the big stuff. I won't see it the way it needs to be seen. I just won't.
No, because we don't know, because like our ego could be just blocking the things because we're really good at just believing whatever we want to believe.
Yeah, we want what we want. We want to see what we want to see. And so all of the things that support what we want, we're going to see, but none of the things that don't support what we want, we're not going to see.
Yes. So you get guided about our soul blueprint based on like maybe spirit will bring you like a past life and say like, well, you need to do this. And like in mine, we had gone through like one of my past lives. And then you kind of told me what some things in this life, like karmically, I was taken care of.
Yes.
And then that was why from the other life.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's the kind of guidance that's like, you have to be open for it. And for anybody who's out there is still not a believer in that we have multiple lives, past lives. What would you say to that person? Like, what's your proof, girl?
I mean, that's the craziest part, that if you look for synchronicities and signs and symbols, you'll find them. What eras of life are you drawn to? I have a friend, Daniel, who is the least woo-woo person I know. He's like a conservative, nerdy geek, right? He wants nothing to do with the woo-woo.
Yep.
And this man is the most profound past life dreamer I have ever met in my entire life. He has dreams that are down to the detail. He was a World War II soldier. He was in the Navy and he drove tanks. So how does that manifest other than his dreams? He is obsessed with painting miniatures of, like tanks and ships. And it's the coolest thing. So you just need to look at areas of your life that you're most interested in geographically, times, that sort of thing. And
that makes sense because I love everything about Egypt.
Yes.
And I have had like visions of a past life, like when I've been meditating in Reiki in like that setting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I'm so freaking obsessed with like getting there someday.
Yes.
Like the pyramids, all the things. I'm like, something's going on. I got to figure this all out.
Yes.
I got to go feel that energy.
Go.
I got to feel it.
Go. I had the same thing with Rome. And once I got there, everything just sort of clicked into place. And I was like, I've been here before. So it's beautiful. You feel like you're coming home.
Oh, see, yes. And just like for everybody listening, you may consider yourself a really good person in this lifetime, right? You were not always a good person.
No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
Am I right, Joe? Like
Right.
we've all had some shitty past lives.
Yes. Yes.
Where we weren't the best people. Because sometimes we have to be that person to learn and grow. Like, so we're not an asshole in the next one. Basically. That's how I think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we got to take care of the stuff in this life or it's just going to follow us, right?
Well, these past lives, all lives, human incarnation is experiential, right? Just like they say, karma's going to get you. Well, karma's not punitive. Karma's experiential. Karma wants you to have the experience so that you can have the 360 knowledge and experience without judgment. So for instance, if in a past life you are an alcoholic, in a current life, you might caretake an alcoholic. You might be an alcoholic counselor. You might, somehow care for alcoholics because that gives you 360 perspective without the judgment. So if you have a 1 in your core chart in numerology, then you're typically an old soul. And old souls who have epically abused their power always, every single time, come back as a humanitarian or an 11-2 healer, some sort of healer or helper of humanity in some way. And that past life always comes through. And it's not always that they're evil. In my past life, I have several where I was I guess we'll call him an evil king. If you are a Game of Thrones fan and you guys, yeah, and that little
God,
prince.
were you Joffrey? Were you Joffrey?
I was not Joffrey, but that's who my spirit guide showed me. They showed me like a little prick like him, right?
Like a little Joffrey.
Like a little Joffrey.
Okay.
But I've also been I was a torturer, just a big dumb oaf who just was a torturer for like, I don't know, a king or whatever. That was my job. And I didn't look at it as anything but this is my job. This is what I do. So yeah, we've had it all. I've never met anybody who's been famous. I've never had somebody who was Cleopatra in a past life or anything like that. But
no,
yeah, we've all
okay.
been.
So along that lines, here's the question that comes to my mind. So I know some of my people out there are thinking it too. Okay, so bad people go where when they die? Because we all like to think that Jeffrey Dahmer is in a burning flame of hell right now.
Right.
That might not be the case.
No.
Right?
It's not the case. Yeah. No. I mean,
there are probably low ranking spirits that there are bad spirits, right?
Yes.
That you don't want to deal with or no?
Those are earthbound spirits. Earthbound spirits are low vibrational spirits that have not passed over.
And we don't really want to mess with them, right?
I mean, if you're high vibe, if you're relatively happy and healthy, well adjusted, to a certain degree, you probably won't be engaging those spirits.
Like they can't bring you down. Like you're vibrating at a certain level.
Right.
And you're only going to attract things at that level anyway.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be worried about some demon coming, oh, I'm on a spiritual journey and now I'm open to all the demons. No, that's never going to happen.
No.
You're going to get what you're putting out there.
Yep. Yep. And you have a team of spirit guides. They're not going to allow that to happen. People that work with those lower vibrational spirits, that's their life path, that's their purpose. They're meant to.
Yeah.
And if you watch any of the TVs or documentaries or movies or anything about people that, have been quote unquote obsessed, you see that they're typically people that are dealing with really traumatic childhood trauma, wounding, addictions, that sort of thing. So they're already at a low vibrational frequency, which allows the spirit to be able to manipulate them in those ways. But if you're just, your average happy person who just wants to live life and is trying to be a good person, you're typically not going to come into contact with those types of spirits. Not any that mean to do you harm, right? Like, if you walk into a haunted house and and grandma hasn't passed over and she's there, you might very well see her if you're an empath or an HSP. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then you might see it there. So really it's a karmic cycle. So let's just say like good old Jeff Dahmer, like he did all of that, but possibly it's more of a hell on earth feel to me. Like he may then come back in the next life. Am I right? Things aren't going to be so great for Jeff. Like
well, okay. Let's talk about that. That's something that comes out of the Akashic records a lot. Okay. So first off, when we're in spirit, it's simply energy. And, if you talk to a shamanic practitioner, there are like 3 levels. I think there's lower world, middle world, and upper world, right? But
Okay.
for the most part, when we pass over, we return to energy. Okay. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe that there is a hell. There is maybe a lower world, but again, I'm not a shamanic practitioner, so I don't work with that. So it's not something that I, engage in. So let's take Jeffrey Dahmer, for instance. Okay. Here's where it gets really, where you have to be really discerning and you have to have an open mind, because Jeffrey Dahmer as a soul says, I need to go to Earth and I want to experience life as a serial killer, or whatever other karma he had or experiential experiences he had that gave him the desire to do that. Now, he's also given free will. So Jeffrey, as a human, has the ability to say, no, I'm not going to kill people. So there's a lot that goes into a soul's decision. Souls aren't inherently bad. It's people and free will and living in the 3rd dimension that gives them the ability to make bad choices. And you'll also know about serial killers, because we've done a couple podcasts on them. They all come from trauma and abuse and, horrible childhoods. So, you know what I mean? Like, the science geek in me says, that's all based on, theory and science and, childhood upbringing and all of that stuff. But I will tell you, this is the recent thing that came through from the Akashic records. So I am a Democrat, that's all I'm going to say about that. So I was basically saying, why are we being put in the position again to have this Republican front runner, a potential, and why is he still around? He's done.
The whole thing feels deja vu, the whole situation.
It's ridiculous, right? Don't get me started. But I asked the Akashic records, and they said that basically that mentality, we'll just say that mentality, that capitalistic patriarchal mentality that wants to keep things the way that they are so that certain populations and genders can stay in power, that's an ascension energy. Okay. So if it weren't for all of these people that want to keep the grid in place as is, those of us that are actually here in an ascension lifetime wouldn't then be able to ascend and awaken. So you can look at it like counterweights, right? If you're so inclined, but that's kind of really what's going on. So does that make these people awful human beings? At the soul level, no. But in a human level, absolutely. So does that make sense? Did that sort of give?
Yeah. So you're saying it's all about balance too.
It
we're not
really
gonna have
is.
all amazing good people on the planet at the same time.
Nope.
We need that balance.
Yes.
Almost like there's no light. You wouldn't know light if you didn't know darkness. So we got to have some chaos so that we enjoy the calm. We're balancing things out.
Can I give you one more example?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my recent clients has an awful, awful, awful relationship with her mother and has nothing good to say. And so when we opened up her record, her her spirit guides came through and said, even though your mother is the absolute opposite of you and has given you an awful life, they showed me the soul contract between the two. The cool thing is that she and her mother made a soul contract that the mother would be absolutely awful because it was the only way that the daughter could then rise up like a phoenix out of that situation, out of that lifestyle, out of that mindset, seek the help that she needs, and then go on to be the success that she is. The mother said, I will play small and awful in order for you. And then in the next lifetime, she will be the mother who will then raise the child with all of the warmth and the love and the encouragement that she needs in order so that they both are ascended at the same level.
Are we keep the same crew? Like soul contract wise? I mean, like, because I've heard people say like, your brother may have been your dad last time, or your brother may have been your mom last time. You know, we don't have to stay male or female, right? Like it's whatever energy. And so are we always kind of connected with the same peeps, or do we pick a new crowd when we're in between lives?
We have a soul family, and then we have a soul group. And soul families are about 40 people that we tend to incarnate over and over again with our closest people. Not always our closest family, but it just depends on what you're meant to experience in that lifetime. Soul group can contain, I mean, I've opened up groups that have about 400 people in them, and those are the acquaintances. So in that instance, if you are meant to ascend, like for instance, I'm a 33/6 in this lifetime, and I was meant to completely ascend out of my family unit, those people from my family unit are actually in my soul group. They're people that I'm not acquainted with, but that I've had experiences with in past lives, but we're not super tight. When I moved here, I started to meet my soul family, and the people that I'm meeting now are members of my soul family. So it just depends on what you're meant to experience and learn.
So, all right, we're getting ready to incarnate again. We're having our group meeting. We're grouping up. What am I doing this time? Jeez Louise. So back to good old, I don't know why Jeffrey Dahmer's in my head today. This isn't good.
He's a good example though.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, did his spirit team, his peeps not go, oh, that might not be the best idea? Killing people. Like, where as a sweet little spirit did you come up with that? You know, or is it, I mean, I think our human brains just can't wrap it around all that sometimes, but we're really kind of deciding ahead. And God and the angels, source, whatever, are all just like all on board. Here's our plan, but you can mess this whole thing up if you want to, because free will.
Free will. That's a really good way to put it.
And that can go either way, good or bad. There could have been people who planned on being awful people, and they got here and were like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I have to be nice. Or opposite. Someone may have come intending to have a really giving, beautiful life, and we got off the path, and now we are, you know, robbing the banks or whatever. Okay. See, I think this is probably one of the hardest parts of spiritual journey, is this shadow work, is figuring this part out. Well, shadow work and figuring this part out, because it's hard to believe that angels, God, everybody was on board with Jeffrey's plan to come down and be a serial killer. And we got to wrap up, you know, or for me, even just personally, for me to stop, which I've already worked through this, but to stop and say, hey, you know, those traumas you had in childhood, guess what? You agreed to some of that, and you're where you are now because of that. So once you can reframe it and almost feel partially grateful for the experience, which sounds weird to even say out loud, like, oh, I'm so grateful I got traumatized as a child.
Right?
No, but once you can look back at it and put it in that light, like take it out of the shadows, bring it into the light and say, this happened. I grew from it. My life is amazing now. It's all good. Right?
Yeah.
I think it feels like one of the only ways to truly heal.
There's a lot of difficulty in looking at the soul's journey from the perspective of, I asked for this or I planned this. A lot of people get pushback when they say, well, your soul planned this. The soul never plans trauma or wounding or anything unless the soul plans it, which is, I think, in my experience, it's always a rarity. It's an actual, like, I don't know, a disaster or tragedy is a legitimate part of the plan. But it does come up. There are plenty of people that I know, because I do a ton of reading on this subject, that will say, I'm going to die young, I'm going to die young, and then they die before they're 30, right? Now, whether that's self-actualization because they're actually saying that they are and that it actually happens, or whether it's written in their soul blueprint, yeah, we don't know. But it's a hard one. And I definitely, in my readings, never, ever, ever, ever tell my client, well, you asked for this, or you signed up for this, or, you know, you knew this was going to happen. I never say that, because it's always a potential or a possibility.
You have to come to that on your own.
But you also have to understand that there's potential and possibility. And again, free will. Your abuser always had the option to not. That sort of thing.
So I think it's nice, because I struggle with the word forgive. Like, what does that even mean? I'm supposed to forgive, you know, my abuser. That doesn't feel comfortable to me to think that way. Right. So I think when I reframe it into, I'm just going to be thankful for the lesson I learned. Yeah. And I'm going to send that person or situation, I'm going to send it back to God.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, like a Ariana Grande. Thank you next. Thank you so much for the experience. I don't need you anymore. Please get off my path. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I'm clearing my
Yes.
path, and it sounds strange. Thanks for traumatizing me. I have learned, I have grown. I'm done. You need to move on. You can't be in my life anymore. Like, we're done.
Forgiveness is tough.
It's tough because you're like, yeah, I don't really want to forgive it or forget it, but I really want to move on.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Forgiveness, I believe, comes when you do the work, and you do the work, you understand the value of the lesson or the growth, but you can also, that doesn't mean that you're forgiving the action, but you are, sort of understanding that the lesson or growth that it gave you, like you said earlier, you're able to look back and go, okay, this is awful. I'm sorry that it had to happen, but as a result, look who I am or where I am now. And I may not have been this person, be at this place in my life had it not been for that.
Right. If I hadn't gone through all the things. Okay, Lord. All right. We're healing today. We're doing all kinds of things. Okay. So another thing that you do really well is for people who are wanting to tap into their own intuition.
Yeah.
And they're new.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the first step is? If someone out there right now is saying, because we all know we have intuition, are we going to tap into it or not and use it? And so if someone's at the point right now where they're like, I think I would like to just tap into my intuition more and see what it's all about, what's like some of the first things you think people have to do?
I would say there is a sort of, it's like a gradual muscle that you need to develop, like any muscle. You just can't pick up running and run, a marathon in a day. You have to start small. So you can either start small on your own and just start researching empathic abilities, intuitive abilities, start a meditation practice, start journaling, reading books, doing shadow work, right? Figure out what your practices are. Or you can work with like a spiritual practices mentor or, a coach. So I offer a program called Deepen, and it's mentorship and guidance to help you master trust and communication with the universe. Because when you think about it, why do people want to connect with their spirit guides? It's because they want to be able to ask for guidance and assistance. They want to be able to communicate with that higher power, and they want to be able to trust and recognize the messages when they come through. And then they also want to be able to trust themselves enough to take action on it, which is the foundation of manifestation. So it's a lot and it's not easy. And so that's why I love mentoring people through developing their intuitive and spiritual practices, because I cut through all the crap, all of the nonsense. It's just, this is what you need to know in order to do this thing.
And you don't have to tap into your intuition with the intention of becoming a medium, reading other people. It can just strictly be for yourself so that you learn how to trust your gut, how to make good life decisions, help just raise your own energy for the benefit of those around you. Yeah. You don't have to be, you got to be a psychic to do this. No. So I think it was on your website and it showed like you love to work with people who are ready to like level up, like get it going. So are there signs that we're at a point where we're like ready to level up?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. If your intuitive abilities are popping off, but you can't intentionally bring them up, like you can't sit down and then activate them if they just pop up randomly, uncontrollably, or you start to question, the things around you. It's basically consciousness. A raise in your consciousness is what an up level is. And it just means that I no longer believe in only the things that I can see, hear, or feel. I now believe in the things that I can't see, that I can't hear, and I can't feel. That's an up level. And that's when you want to say, all right, now let me explore this. How do I explore this? A spiritual journey and awakening you can do that 100% on your own. But I don't recommend it unless you're a seeker of deeper meaning, or if you want to be frustrated or you want to take your time.
Yeah, no, we need more people.
Yeah. Like if you're like, I want to learn how to do this in a really structured way.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to go find an intuitive. I mean, when I first started my spiritual journey, I was listening to podcasts and reading books like it was my full-time job. Like no one else was involved. It was just me. And then I added in people like yourself, like to get readings and different things. And you know what I mean? If I listen to a podcast and I felt called to it, like if you're listening now and you're like, this Jo sounds cool. Like I want to hear what she has to say specifically for me. You feel that connection, you know to book it. Okay. There's been other people that I've listened to their podcast or whatever, and I've been like, no, not feeling them. Like, you know what I mean? So no, I don't reach out to them. I don't do anything with them. I just keep it moving. Right. And that person may totally connect with someone else. And that's part of your like intuition gut. Like, what am I feeling about this person? Like, I feel a connection. I got to go with this. And so let's see which direction I was heading here, because I was going somewhere. Hold on.
Well, there are so many teachers for us out there, and it's fun finding those that are meant for you.
Yes. Oh, I know it's going to tell everybody. Okay. So in my very first session with Jo, I don't know if you remember this, but you and Grandma Dolores.
Oh,
that's your grandma, right?
My Grandma Dolores. She's right behind me. You can see her on the video.
She's there. Okay. So here's what happened. We were just doing our reading and you were like, so do you channel like on purpose? And I was like, oh, no. Like that, I'm not there. And you were like, no, you can. I think you can. And you were like, let's do it. And I was like, oh God, like now, you know what I mean? And so I was like, okay. So we kind of, you helped me get through the drop down, get in there. And you're like, just focus on my Grandma Dolores. She's always here. She's around. And so I was like, okay. So I closed my eyes. I did the whole thing. And I kept seeing like this huge flower bush. Do you remember this? It was this huge flower bush. And I was like, I don't know. I see like flowers. They're pink. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe she's wearing an apron. I don't know. So I was just kind of going through it. And then I came out of it and you were like, okay. She's like, you were like, let me show you my Grandma Doris. And you grabbed this little picture from the side of your computer, which I couldn't see. It wasn't behind you or anything. It was like off where I couldn't see. And you held it up and there was good old Grandma Dolores standing in front of a huge pink flowered bush. I mean, like big. It's big, like way bigger than her. Yes. And so that was like the first time that I ever intentionally tried to like grab onto someone else's energy and channel it through. And I didn't even know I could do that. Right. And I mean, like everybody out there, if you see me, like don't roll up thinking I can channel for you right there. Right. That is not what Jen does. But it was a cool experience, right? To like have you show me that picture of Grandma Dolores, right? You know what I mean? And the fact that I had envisioned like that, and like, how would I have known that? It's the first time I'd ever met you. I knew nothing about Grandma Dolores at all. So, and I'm a person for signs. Like I ask for signs all the time, just because I think I still have like imposter syndrome and like, I still wonder if it's me. I just have a super cool imagination or is this something like coming through? Yeah. So I'm always asking for signs and I usually do get them, but that was just a cool thing during one of our first readings. It was unexpected. See, she's guided by spirit, you guys. So if something needs to happen, like she'll just go with it. You don't have some planned script off to the side. And when you've gotten to the bottom, the session's over. No, like that's some people. I've had readings where I'm like, I didn't love that, And so, but I know that when I walked away from yours, I felt like I knew so much more about myself. I hadn't even realized like how some of the numbers played into my personality. You know what I mean? Like being born on the 8th, you know what I mean? And like this sign and that sign. And I don't even know enough about it, but the only thing most of us know is our little sign, right? Like I'm a Pisces, like that's it. That's all we know. But if you like start figuring out the rest, it is crazy amazing how accurate it is.
It's phenomenal. And what's interesting is that life on the other side, right? When we're in spirit form, we all have jobs. We are, we're no less productive in spirit form than we are in human form. And so one of the first things that I pulled out of the records, I was like, what do I do on the other side? What is my job? And it was the coolest thing because I realized that my job, or I was shown that my job is to help people write their human incarnation, their soul blueprint. I sit down with them. I say, what are your plans? What do you need to learn? That's why I'm so into it. But it's interesting because in this lifetime or in human, I help people translate their soul blueprint.
Yes,
so that
it's like all the things are coming together.
Yes. So I send you off and then I incarnate and I say, all right, now let me help you interpret that. So
how many lives do you think you've had? Have you tried to figure it out?
I had a reading with an Akashic reader here in Portland. And I if I remember correctly, he told me 700.
Holy guacamole.
I know.
I think you're ready to ascend. Come on, girl.
Right? Why am I here again?
Why do you keep coming back to this god awful place?
I mean, it's a PhD thing, I guess. I have no idea, but
Yeah, you're not done. You're not done with your work. You had to come
no.
back so you could tell me about my blueprint.
Yeah. And in this lifetime too, this is an ascension lifetime. And this is a lifetime where, I mean, millennials and the younger, all the younger generations, all the children now, they're all star seeds. They're intuitive. So as the generations start to
It's
mature,
becoming much more open and accepted.
they're incredible. They are going to have the babies that are going to have the babies that are going to change the world, like literally change the world.
We're not burning people at the stake anymore here. We've gotten past that. You know what I mean? Like, I think people are opening up to everything, that there is, even just scientifically, leaps and bounds. There's things we just can't deny anymore, right? Like, it's plain physics. Like, everything's energy. All of this is going on. It's just a matter of time before we figure it all out.
It really
Right?
is. It really is. And really, it's just been kept from us by the patriarchy. I mean, the freaking government knows that there are aliens. They know it. The aliens have been in contact, right? And I'm not an alien conspiracy theorist by any means, but I am a realist. And realistically, there is zero chance that we are the only life forms in the universe. We are not by any means smart enough to be the only.
I mean, because you look at
Right.
certain people and you're like, okay, God definitely does bigger things than these people, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I think it's awful egotistical of us to think that we are the highest form
Highest
of
form.
beings.
Exactly. We're not.
I mean, there's
no
a lot
way.
of idiots walking this planet, okay?
So
We
many.
can't possibly be
So
the
many.
highest life form,
No.
right?
No. Right. No, it's ridiculous.
No, there's so many things.
It's comical a little bit.
I mean, nobody's excited to die, but in a way, sometimes I'm like, this is going to be so cool to figure this all out. To get back to my in-between where I know all the things. Yeah.
Yes. So my uncle passed away, my uncle Xavier. And, I've asked him a couple times, like, what's it like? And he's like, it's just weird. It's freaky, man. It's cool. It's like, you don't even know. I mean, that's literally how he talked in real life. And so when it came through the medium, I was like, dude, that's him. That's him. And
that's him. Like, I know that's him.
Yeah.
And there's not the same time continuum that we have going on. So like the way we miss people when they pass, they don't have like this big long time they're waiting for us, right? I mean, like time, there's no time then.
Time is a human construct.
Yeah, like it's us that's spending all this time mourning, right? Yeah. They're doing like so good on the other side.
Yes, they really are.
Yeah. And it always makes me wonder why we choose to come back. When it's so
experience,
awesome.
Growth, experiential karma. Yeah. I mean, I think we choose to come back for very simplistic, practical reasons. Like right now, the earth, it's time for the earth to ascend. So we all came back, and there's star seeds and souls from other galaxies and stuff that are coming back. If you believe in the star seed, phenomenon.
Ooh, girl, you are getting woo today. I love it.
Very woo, very esoteric.
All the things I don't know anything about, but I love hearing it.
Yeah. Dolores Cannon is a good resource for that. So if anybody's interested in star seeds, read the Dolores Cannon.
Yeah. You know what? I have checked out some Dolores Cannon stuff because you know what? I've had the QHHT session, and she started all that, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. In fact, my practitioner that did it is going to come on and go over, talk about that more because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
I've had it done.
I cannot wait to hear that. Oh,
I cannot, but I did that when I've done a follow-up on it too.
Nice.
And those are really cool too because you can go back and listen to them later.
Yep.
It's so cool. I love it. And so Dolores, there's so many things out there. And I feel like my brain is so full of things. Sometimes I try and add one more thing and I'm like, no, not yet.
Right.
I can't do the star seeds yet. I haven't figured the other things out yet. But no, it is really cool that we're in this whole transition right now. And the energies are all changing everywhere. And it is a cool time to be alive. It doesn't always feel like that. I got to admit. But yeah, we do have some cool things going on. So we just need to look right past all the politics to all the good things. That's what we got to do.
I mean, what else can you do?
Turn the TV off and...
It's true. Especially if you're an empath, you can't watch,
No,
the
it's
news
too much. It's too much. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. If you're way over on the left or way over on the right, all the fringy ends are just it's a lot.
It's a lot.
You know what I mean?
It really is.
It doesn't matter which end you're at. It's too much.
No.
Right.
And there are people that have specific soul blueprints that are meant to be in it, fighting this, listening to this, doing this every day. And if it's not you, focus on what you're here to do and, sort of stay in your lane and stuff. It's hard for me because I have very strong political opinions and I like to voice those at certain times.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it exhausts me, and I'm like, oh, I can't deal
No,
with that
it'll
right
wipe
now.
out all your energy. So if you don't feel a strong pull towards like fighting
Right,
politically,
exactly.
then you should probably just back it off. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't do
Nope.
the things, but like, you don't have to spend all day, every day worrying about it.
No, focus on what you came here to do. You live one of your purposes, one or more of your purposes, as follow your life path, really find the most joy that you can out of, this one life.
Yes. We got to finish this life strong, right, Jo?
Exactly. Finish it
as
out.
strong as we can. Because I say halfway to dead. I have no idea how close to death I am. Good chance I'm past halfway. I like to pretend I'm still halfway. But like, honestly, probably not living into the hundreds, right?
I mean,
so I'm probably, but you know what?
I don't really want to.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, do I want to live to 100? Yes, if I'm going to be doing some cool stuff still, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to get to 100 if it's going to be, a seriously shitty old age path? I don't know. Now you got me thinking. I hope I didn't plan for that.
That's something else that I asked the Akashic Records, and they showed me the number 92, and I just basically said, how long do I have, until, and I saw 92. So I fully believe that I will die when I'm 92.
Oh, good for you.
I mean, 92, that's still, I still have some really good years left in me.
You got a lot of time left, Jo.
Yeah.
A ton.
Right. And if it's tomorrow,
I feel like I'd be too scared to ask what age, because what if it threw up like a 53? Right. And I was like, shit, I'm on my final countdown.
I have things to do.
I got to kick some stuff out this year. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The thing is, they will never show us what we're not meant to see. Right. So like, they're not going to show me anything that they think I shouldn't know. They're smart. They're way smarter than me. They know what's going on. They meaning, let's do one less definition. We're tapping into our higher selves is a goal. Just tell everybody what our higher self is.
You can think of it like your oversoul, or you can think of it like the source universe. You can think about it as your, I don't know, like your general contractor soul. I mean, how I explain it to people is imagine your soul. And then your soul rips off a little piece of energy and plops it into a little baby, 25%. That's you. But then the soul, the other 75% is your higher self. There's so many different concepts of it, but I see her as like, she's like a god or a goddess. And I refer to her and I ask her questions and ask for her help. And,
so it's really kind of like the absolute best version of ourselves.
I think so. Like our all-knowing, our soul.
Our soul, like we're just a little tiny piece of it.
It's called a fractal. We're fractals.
So if we can tap into the other 75% of our soul up there, then that's where we get the answers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So much to think about, Jo. So much to think about.
I know. Listen, I could talk about this all day. I mean, there's so many aspects of this, of spirituality that are just fascinating.
There's just so many things. Every time I hear something new, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I got a whole new rabbit hole to crawl down. Okay. Listen, here's what I want everybody to know out there. Okay. If you're booking a session with Jo, know this. She's super chill. She's easy to talk to. Okay. We didn't even get to the jewelry, but everybody look up the jewelry I told you about because it would make a really good gift because she takes her knowledge of like the person's numerology and all the things and will custom create a piece of jewelry for that person.
Yes. I call it a piece of your soul.
Where can you get a gift like that? Like not down at the old Target. No. So you got to don't forget about her jewelry or even a session with you. You could gift a session to someone who's, if you're not into the woo woo, but you know someone who is, this is a really good gift, right? Because you're just a straight shooter. You're not crazy woo woo where we're like, what is this crazy lady talking about?
Right.
You explain things really well. You know what I mean? You explain things really well. And so, it's a really perfect experience. Like I feel like I need a reading with you every like so many months or something.
I love that.
To see what else has come up, right? Because like you said, we can tap into ourselves. But sometimes I think other people can see the picture clearer. You know what I mean?
100% when it comes to those bigger questions that you just can't get, answers to. But on the day to day, absolutely, you can tap into yourself, use tarot and oracle as validation, meditate, journal. You'll get your answers. It's just easier when somebody else sort of brings clarity to them, but also that other person. A lot of times what I do for my clients is I'm validation. I'm just validating what they already knew.
Yeah, like,
and
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes, and somebody asked me, well, why would I pay for validation? Well, you can get uncertainty for free. So,
exactly.
You have a choice.
I can think of a lot like crappier way to spend money. You know what I mean? Like
right?
Maybe we skip a couple McDonald's drive-thrus and we get a reading instead. Right?
Right. Exactly.
Where there's a will, there's a way. And and the podcast, they're recording, you heard straight out of her mouth, they're recording again in a month or two. So until then, just go to their Esoterix, the link's in the show notes, all the things are there. Link to there because you can just binge for forever on what they've already got out there.
Yeah, we have a ton. We do. We have a lot.
There's just a ton. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you guys go places where other people won't sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
To explain. Tell me how you mean.
I'm saying like you'll say the things about the Catholics. You'll say the things about
for
you
sure.
know what I mean? You're not sugarcoating all the stuff.
No,
like
we
if
don't.
You or Florley think it, you're probably going to say it. And I like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Social justice is important to us. And social responsibility is important to us. And we have no problem calling out nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Just
that's what I mean.
Stupid nonsense.
Stupid nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to go there for a minute. So I love it. So everybody can go binge all of Esoterix and check out her joy. All the links are going to be below. Everything, all the links, all the things. You'll be able to go find her. Easy enough. And you have to swear you'll come back because we have not touched on all the things.
I would
I'm
love
not going to keep everybody here for the day with us today, but so many more things to go over. So many. Because we didn't even go into all the really cool, there's so many things, right?
There's lots of good things. Yeah.
So, but I figured we'd go the direction we needed to go this time, right? Because Spirit sent us the direction we went. And that's where we went. The basics and some past life stuff that I know people struggle with that are starting into their journey. Yeah. And even just it's a really great starting place in a journey to start with readings like you give. Yeah. Because all of a sudden it is validation about okay, that is why I have kind of that personality. That's why I'm drawn to doing that. Okay, now I'm validated I should head that direction. Like you had told me, you're a whatever. What number is the teacher?
The 4.
Yeah, that I was a 4 and a teacher and all of the things. And we talked about all of that. And you all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah. I'm starting to see my life path a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, because when you book with let's say you just book with us a standard psychic medium or and I'm not, downplaying anybody's abilities. All of the psychic arts are wonderful and amazing. But where I stand aside is that I say, what are you challenged by? All right, well, let's look at the skills and the gifts and the abilities that you just innately and naturally have that you might not be aware of that you're not using. And then we'll talk about, well, what should I do? What should I do? The psychic stuff. But first, let's talk about you and what you need to know about you. So it is a combination of the two. I feel like my sessions are empowering because they give people the ability to see they're not stuck. They don't suck. They're not, life isn't out to get them.
You're not stuck and you don't suck, everybody. Okay. Jo, you have to promise to come back because we have not completed everything we need to talk about. So
yes. I would love to come back.
You're welcome on anytime. Anything new you've come up with, bring it to me. I'm ready. I
would love it.
Everybody, all my pod friends out there, I know are ready for it too. Yes, because they're already going to go binge all your stuff. And so when they come back to me, I'm just sending everybody away from me. You guys don't unfollow me. Just follow them too, okay?
Well, that's the good thing. You can follow all the podcasts.
You can follow so many. It doesn't limit you. I should know. I've got a lot in the hopper at all times. Anyway, thank you so much for everything. I loved everything we talked about. So much to think about and do. And you are coming back again so we can just dive deeper into all these things. All these numbers and all the other fun things that we need to know.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a fun conversation. I will definitely come back. Definitely. I might even bring Fiorelise next time because,
Oh my God, yes. Two celebrities. I love it.
Yeah.
Podworld celebrities.
Yeah. She's wonderful too. So.
She is. I love you both. I love you both. It's like the combination of you two together is it works.
Yeah,
you know that it works.
Yeah, we have fun.
It's so much fun. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now, I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.